For most online shops or conventional art goodies, you have the possibility to either manufacture them with professional printing companies or you can DIY them at home, like printing and cutting your art prints, ironing your art on tote bags and t-shirts, investing in a batch machine. Especially in the beginning, we have a limited budget, a small or no audience at all, and doing your products at home allows you to try out smaller quantities. I tried out various products and collected feedback accordingly in my early con days. So how do clients perceive homemade products? Is it good for your brand? We'll analyze different products and client feedback divided into quality, reputation, pricing and time to see what works best. If you're new here and want to monetize your art, hit the subscribe button and notification bell, and we'll see each other on Tuesdays 6 p.m. for new videos to grow from art to business, alternating between English and French. So let's go! Most beginning artists who want to create products for their online art store or for Artist Alley will likely start with art prints, which are among the easiest and cheapest to manufacture, as explained in our last video. And especially for prints, it's very easy to just use your own machine at home, print it and then cut the motifs to the right size, bookmarks, postcards, etc. Most printing companies don't allow small quantities for variable motifs, so it's understandable that budding artists are often looking for alternatives to get started on a tighter budget and audience. If you have a good printer and good paper, you can definitely get a professional quality. But not always, because there are some other aspects to consider. A simple yet important aspect with art prints so many beginning artists underestimate is cutting. Are you capable of cutting your prints correctly? Forget about scissors. If you want a professional rendering, you'll need a cutting machine. And even then, 100% accuracy is not guaranteed. If you have a print series, are you capable of cutting them exactly the same size? Often it won't be possible to do this manually, and you'll end up with slightly bigger or smaller prints, which were actually supposed to be the same size. What do people say about this? Well, nothing. There was a con where I printed 5 illustrations at home and some of them still had white borders, so I needed to cut them out manually. Now, maybe my cutting machine hated me, but I ended up with quite inconsistent sizes. At the con, I put them all in a basket, priced them at €2 each, and sold out. No one ever mentioned the slightly different sizes, and I think that such handmade products, even if they aren't perfect, are okay at conventions and Artist Alley. People often buy from artists to support them, or maybe they fell in love with that specific art print. It's very affordable, so they can see and touch things and they know exactly what they're buying. Hence, to sell at cons, quality seems somehow debatable, especially at anime and manga cons, where 1, the clients are usually younger teenagers, and 2, it's just a place where so many artists start out. So visitors are often aware that they can't afford expensive manufacturing and still buy to support and show you they like what you do. If you're starting out, handmade is okay, but do your best to still keep the product as good looking as possible. Now, on the other hand, have a look at the professional illustrators who actually make a living with art, or who are side hustling but still serious about monetizing their art and building a brand. How many DIY products do you see at that table? This brings us to the next point. Let's face it, most professional or seriously established illustrators at Artist Alley don't offer DIY products anymore. Or if they do, it's usually very high quality. I mentioned this in my first video about making good art. The quality of your art builds your brand, which in turn builds your reputation. It's the same for your art goodies. People will remember the quality. If it's bad, do you think they will want to buy again or recommend you, especially if it's a stranger who doesn't know you and gets disappointed at their first purchase? If you're on this channel, which is all about growing your art business, I assume that you want to get serious with art, earn more money with your passion, and keep your clients happy for regular, repeated sales. In case you want to go all in as a freelancer, it will be even more important that you make quality your trademark. When you're serious about monetizing your art and possibly go pro, something interesting happens to your self-esteem. It goes down when you keep performing at the same level than you did as a beginner. If you stick with your old quality, like DIY approximately cut art prints, while you know they could look much nicer with a professional printing company, you'll feel bad. You will somehow feel like a fraud asking money for something which wasn't worth it. Often, you'll also price it quite low. The A5 print in the previous section were right when I transitioned between my last school year and becoming a freelancer, and I knew I could do better, hence I didn't dare asking more than €2 per print. And even though I sold out, I never put any new handmade ones on sale. Some feedback which illustrates this concept perfectly comes from one of my regular clients. As tote bags are expensive to produce, but I really wanted to try this out, I bought some textile transfer paper, ironed it on white bags and presented them at cons. I sold out again, but a few months later this specific client told me they loved the bag but didn't dare use it too much and never put it into the washing machine because the print seemed like it could go off anytime. I felt so embarrassed. So for the next events, I paid an expensive manufacturer, but it was so worth it. The bags were beautifully printed, washing machine safe, and I was much more confident in selling those new tote bags. Nothing compared to the previous homemade version. Products you DIY at home will usually cost much less than what you'll pay to a printing company. Yes, it's an investment to create quality products, but if you have an audience for it and want to attract more potential customers more easily, the investment will be worth it. In business, it's psychological. The more expensive a product is, the more people associate it with quality. Imagine at a supermarket, when faced with two similar options of an item you don't know much about, you'll automatically assume that the more expensive product must be of better quality. Now, whether you buy it or not, it's a different story. But the same goes for your art products. If they're more expensive, people will assume there must be something to justify that higher price. Hence, your quality must be top-notch. We said just before that being convinced of your quality allows you to sell more confidently. It will also be easier to price your products higher, so that you still get a decent profit margin even if you initially invested more. Seriously, if people see the quality and love your work, they will buy, even if it's more expensive. Back to a real life example, I was ready to sell my new professionally printed tote bags sold at €12. And suddenly I saw the booth right in front of me selling tote bags too at €5, more than half of my price. However, they were still ironing their art at home like I had done before. A client first bought theirs and then mine. When talking about the different pricing, they told me the homemade and company-made couldn't be compared. Of course, it was normal to pay more for a product which would obviously last longer in time, but they still wanted to buy both to support each of us in our own creative path. So even if professionally made products are more beneficial when you want to go pro and build a reputation, homemade DIY definitely works too, and there will always be people who want to support you no matter the quality. So we said that homemade products save you money, but what about time? If money is an important resource, so is time. Doing things at home definitely has benefits time-wise. For instance, there are no manufacturing and shipping delays anymore, which can usually last between 1 to 3 weeks. If you need a specific product right now, you can print it immediately and it's ready for sale or shipping. On the other hand, DIYing your products can also have the opposite effect, making you lose time while also being difficult to scale as you are not a machine and produce at a much slower pace. Until you've got the hang out of it, some products will require lots of trial and error beforehand and might actually end up being more expensive than expected with your failed test attempts. I once tried out some sticker paper which just wouldn't have a decent rendering, no matter which printing option, paper type, print quality I tried. There would always be some blurs or lines in the artwork, and after dozens of failed attempts I just gave up and threw the whole paper bundle away. There were lots of tests for the initial tote bags too. Sometimes the paper wouldn't stick to the bag, or there was just too much pressure on the iron which burned the tissue, or I couldn't detach the protection paper from the bag anymore and the whole thing was good for trash. So when creating your homemade products, think whether this is something fun you enjoy doing, or if it makes more sense for your business to delegate the production so that you can focus your time and efforts on other projects. So when should you DIY? When starting out, it definitely is a useful option to just try out all the products you want while staying very low cost and testing small quantities to see what works and adjust better according to people's feedback later on. I don't think it makes much sense to pay for high quality products if you're still in your early stages with no audience yet, and especially if you're not 100% sure of your art style and still experimenting to find your voice. In those early stages, the best thing you can do is just enjoy the process. Do what you love and try out as many things as you'd like. Once you're serious about monetizing your art and building a brand and reputation around it, it will be the time to level up and focus on more quality with manufactured products. By then you will most likely already have a good understanding of the industry, of how your various products performed, you'll have a more engaged following and regular sales and customers. You'll also most probably want to scale and sell more because that's what will allow you to make a living. When you reach that point, it will make much more sense to work with printing companies because 1, it's much less risky to invest, because 2, you have the experience, 3, you have an audience for bigger quantities, and 4, your time will be much better spent focused on creating and developing your art base rather than cutting hundreds of pieces of paper. If you have a look at most professional artist booths and shops, you will see more company manufactured products than homemade. But in some cases, there's still some DIY products, only that the quality is amazing and completely in line with the professionally printed goods. So yes, even if you're professional, you can still have your homemade products. Most artists who still create art goodies at home though will invest in more expensive machinery which allow them to uphold the overall quality of their products. This can include silhouette cutting machines for stickers, batch machines, professional printers. Yes, the investment is costly, but if you're serious about your art career, this will definitely benefit you in the long term. This time, seriously saving money and manufacturing time. Another good use of DIY is with products that are unique or more special than regular con or shop assortments. For instance, I love scrapbooking and sell some custom collage notebooks with my artwork. Each of them is handmade and unique, which makes them quite popular products. After someone told me that some parts unglued as they regularly transported the notebook in their bags, I invested in better glue, high quality washi tape, and always make sure to double glue stickers to make them last longer, in addition to finding some new notebooks with a plastic protection all around and interior pages suitable for various drawing techniques. It's been one of my most popular products, especially because it's DIY, but according to how I decided to upgrade my brand when I became a freelancer, I also improved the overall quality of the product. So here you have it. According to my experience and analyzing the booths of various artists at cons, homemade works fine to start out and try new things. There will always be people to support you. And as you grow, your art and quality define your brand and your reputation, so leveling up your game with professional manufactured goods might be a good idea then. But again, you can still home produce at home if you invest in good machines. In general, aim for professional manufacturing for general products such as art prints, and keep DIY for special and unique products only you and no one else can do. As always, I'd love to hear from you. Are you more on the homemade or professional manufacturing side? Are there still products that you create yourself, and why? Comment below to share your experience. And if you found this video helpful, please leave it a like, and you can look forward to a new playlist, Artist Alley, online shops and sales, which will be regularly updated with content all around those topics. Make sure to subscribe if you're interested, and in the meanwhile, you can also come over to Instagram at myartbizacademia for useful tips and resources to kickstart your illustration career. And I'll see you next time for a new video to grow from art to business, always on Tuesdays, 6 p.m. in English and French.